Hi guys, this is Sai Kumar Kortiwada. In this video, we will learn about set timeout and set interval in JavaScript. To understand more about set timeout and set interval, let me quickly jump into Visual Studio Code. Here, I have configured two files, that is index.html file and index.js file. Here, I have mapped index.js to my script tag. Going into JavaScript file, let me create some console.log of first statement, and let me create sample function, and let me create one more console.log of second statement, and let me define my sample function. Inside this sample function, let me write a console sample function. Here there is no asynchronous flow, it is a synchronous flow. That means each and every statement will be executed one after the other. Let me save this, go to the browser, reload. If you see here, the first statement, sample function, and the second statement, they are executing in a sequential manner. So for example, in JavaScript, if we have a asynchronous functional flow, then how JavaScript will behave? Let me create a set timeout. There is a method in JavaScript which is a set timeout, which will accept the first parameter as a function. Let me give a function which is a nameless function or anonymous function. Let me give console.log of inside timeout, and the second parameter is something like 3000 milliseconds. The second parameter accepts a milliseconds, and now it is equivalent to 3 seconds. That means this particular function will execute after 3 seconds. So this is called as an asynchronous flow. How JavaScript will behave? First, it will execute the console.log of first statement, and then it will go into the sample. Inside the sample, we have an asynchronous function. So this asynchronous function will not execute immediately. It will execute after certain period of time. JavaScript will never wait for the asynchronous type of content. Instead, it will go on continuing the remaining statements as a second process. So it will print second statement, and once after 3000 seconds is done, then it will go to the callback function and it will execute the remaining statements which exist inside the set timeout. Let me save this, go back, clear, and reload. Here we got first statement, second statement, and after 3 seconds we got inside timeout. If you see here, 5 seconds, and after 3 seconds, that is at 8th second, I got inside timeout. So this is how a set timeout will work. And there is one more functionality where set interval will come in. The set timeout, once it is executed, it will get terminated. The scope of set timeout is only one time execution. Whereas if you want to execute a asynchronous data or asynchronous functions for every certain period of time, then we will go and use set interval. Let me use set interval, and inside the set interval it will also have a callback function which is an anonymous function, and I can use some seconds. Let me use 5000, and let me print a console.log of inside the interval. Let me save this and go back to the browser, clear, reload. If you see here, the third second it will print the timeout inside the timeout, and next every 5 seconds it will print the inside the interval. Why? Because inside interval is something which is a callback function which was written inside a set interval. Set interval will execute continuously until it was terminated by the user or until we reload the application. Let me reload the application. Again it starts from the first, and it will print its consoles continuously inside the interval, and after 5 seconds again it will print, after 5 seconds again it will print. So set interval is used to execute certain statements for every period of time. That means the given period of time is 5, so for every 5 seconds it will go on executing. So now how to terminate or how to stop set interval? So we can stop the set interval by using a method called as clear interval. For example, let me give var interval is equal to set interval. This set interval will return a function, and that will be stored in our interval. That means a reference will be stored in our interval, and we can clear that interval from our browser by using a method called as clear interval. So how to clear that interval? To understand more about this interval, let me create one more set timeout, and inside the function let me give a clear interval, and inside this clear interval let me pass interval as a reference. Whenever I pass interval to the clear interval, it will clear my interval, and this interval will not continue the callback function. It will be terminated. To know about that, what I'll do is I'll use 10,000 seconds. That means for every 5,000 it will be triggered. That means 5 seconds it will be triggered, and at the 10th second, once it is triggered, this will be cleared off. Let me save this and go back, clear this, and let me start our reload. Okay, first statement, second statement, and it will go in inside the timeout and inside the interval for the 5 seconds. Next 5 seconds it will print one more inside the interval, and the last one it will never print any value. Why? Because after 10 seconds we are clearing the interval. If you go to the browser, nothing is happening. To more understand about the clearing the interval, let me create one console.log of timeout for the interval. So we are clearing the interval here. Let me go back to the browser, clear this, reload. First statement, second statement, inside the timeout, inside the interval, again after 5 seconds, inside the interval, and you can see here timeout for the interval. That means the 10th second, whenever it reaches the 10th second, it is trying to clearing off my interval, and after that there is no console which is printed inside the interval. That means our interval has been collapsed. Now let's understand the difference between set interval and the set timeout. Set timeout will execute only once after certain period of time, whereas set interval will continue for every period of time which is given. And set timeout can be terminated automatically by the browser itself once it is executed, and set interval can be cleared by using clear interval. There is a function called as clear timeout. That means you can even clear the timeout function. For example, let me give var timeout is my reference, and let me create one more set timeout, set timeout, and function here. This is a callback function. In this callback function, let me write console.log of clear my timeout, and here what I am doing is just I am giving 1 second. That means within 1 second I am trying to clear it off. So clear timeout, and let me pass the handler. That means a reference for this set timeout. Let me save this here. In this case, this will be executed after 3 seconds, but before this execution itself, my thousands will be executed, and this will clear my timeout. So this particular console.log, that means inside timeout, will never execute. Let me save this, go back, clear, reload. First statements and second statement clear my timeout. That means timeout has been cleared. So your timeout function will never be executed because it has been already cleared. And now timeout for the interval. So it went into timeout for interval. Now this interval has also been closed. So that is how your interval and set timeout will be used and will be working. Hope you guys like my video and like my explanation. If you like my video, please like, share, subscribe to my channel for more updates. Signing off. Thank you.